Ah yes, Armenia, one of those countries which practically no American can point out on a map because all the interesting stuff happens right down here. Unfortunately, Armenia's greatest claim to fame is probably the fact that Turkey committed one of the worst genocides in recorded history against her people, and it is equally as unfortunate that it is either overshadowed by discussions of that genocide, at best, and is outright denied to have ever happened at worst. Present my pasty white ass. That all being said, Armenia is surprisingly a culturally rich land with a unique geography lying between the Middle East and Eastern Europe. And we're talking really Eastern Europe here, folks. Throughout its history, Armenia has also been graced with interactions with the old Hellenistic Greeks as they pushed back against the Persian Empire, and even had a run-in with the Romans in 34 BC. Though the cultural impact Mark Antony and his armies had on the Armenians was, well, it wasn't very productive. Point is, Armenia, and by extension its mythology, has seen a lot of influences throughout history, and yet curiously enough, they were, in fact, the first nation in the world to formally adopt Christianity as their state religion. Why am I bothering with this extensive anthropology lecture? Because your typical Armenian will be the first one to tell you that their old pantheon of gods is pagan, i.e., not a lot of influence is placed on them, and hence why I can do an entire video covering pretty much everything there is to know about Armenian mythology in a single video. Armenia's mythological beginnings can be traced back to the kingdom of Urartu, which dates back to at least the 9th century BC. These ancient Armenians took a lot of influence from the Mesopotamian Pantheon. Now, while we know that there are at least 79 gods in the original pantheon, the three we're most interested in here today are Teshiba, the god of storms, Haldi, the god of war, and Shivini, the sun god, who, interestingly, shares more than a few passing similarities with the Egyptian sun god Ra. Like most cultures, the Urartu civilization usually recounted their mythology orally up until they were inscribed in stone, or in this particular case, recounted through Gusan, which eventually had to be recorded by passers-through in order to be added to their short archaeological record. Somewhere along the line, a lot of these gods were renamed. The following are accounts of gods which I was actually able to find, and will primarily take up the majority of the rest of this video. So Shivini, the original god of the sun, became Aramazd, or Ara for short. He's described as the father to all other gods as well as the creator of heaven and earth, and that right there is your creation story, by the way. I was not actually able to find any inscribed tale of creation for the Armenians beside this simple description of Ara, so as to how he went about doing it, your guess is as good as mine. What we do know is that he actually built the earth on the horns of a gigantic bull, and curiously enough, it describes the earth turning on these horns. Now, this may just be the translation I read being a bit disingenuous with me, but remember that Armenia had quite a bit of contact with the Greeks back in the day, and so it's not totally unrealistic that they could have picked up on Eratosthenes' research and determined for themselves that the round earth actually makes a lot of sense. So, good on Armenia. They actually didn't buy into the whole Nordic snake wall theory, which conveniently shares a lot of similarities with Egyptian symbolism and Mesopotamian cryptology. Oh. Well, never mind then. Moving on down the pantheon, we have Anahit, the maybe daughter, maybe wife of Ara, quite possibly both. Anahit is actually a widely beloved goddess, as she is the embodiment of fertility and maternity in Armenian culture. She was so beloved that Plutarch noted that her temple in Eriza was the wealthiest in all of Armenia, with a gigantic golden statue of the goddess sitting as its prized jewel, up until Mark Antony came in with the Roman legion, sacked the temple, and crushed the statue into tiny pieces. According to legend, Emperor Augustus was later given a piece off the hip of the statue by one of the generals at a dinner party. However, this hip has never been found, nor has any other piece of the statue, debatedly. Vahagan is the rebranded Haldi, and similarly serves as the god of thunder, lightning, and war in the Armenian Pantheon, whom kings and soldiers alike would often make sacrifices towards in hopes of winning his grace and guaranteeing the tiny nation of Armenia victory in battle. Vahagan's birth is actually one of the only tales we actually have a partial inscription of, as it was related to us by the Armenian Gusans. In travail were heaven and earth, In travail to the purple sea, the travail held in the sea, the small red reed. Through the hollow of the stalk came forth smoke. Through the hollow of the stalk came forth flame. And out of the flame a youth ran. Fiery hair had he. Too, he had flaming beard. And his eyes, they were as suns. Which all supposedly rhymes if you read that in Armenian, which I'm not even going to try and attempt. It is commonly believed that this was originally meant as the origin story for Ara/Shivini due to the whole eyes like suns and hair and beard of fire thing, but I'm gonna stick to my notes, which profess that it is definitely Vahagan. Vahagan also gets compared to the Greek hero Heracles a lot, and is also known by his name Vishabhaka, which literally translated means Dragon Reaper, which is the coolest fucking name in all of mythology, alluding to how in later passages of the Bard, he supposedly killed some dragons and some other cool shit. Fortunately, a small portion of Vahagan's legacy lives on in the post-Christian Armenian world, as the Archangel Gabriel is described to have inherited his role as Master of the Storms and Weather, even though this somewhat conflicts with the Hashmalim, but that's a whole other metric fuck ton of worms, which I can't really get into right now, so let's just move along to Astghik, or sometimes humorously known as Astlik, is the goddess of beauty, love, and water. She is also the lover of Vahagan and is often associated with roses and doves. Now Astlik fuck me. Take two. Now, Astlik used to make a habit of bathing in the mountain stream every evening, which of course left her vulnerable to the peeping toms who lived in the nearby village. Now, to her credit, where most goddesses would just get pissed off, rip out the villagers' entrails, and use them to make sausage, Astlik handled the whole situation with using her powers over water to create a dense mist over the whole area, which would later come to be known as the Plain of Mush. And now we're getting into some of the more minor gods, so I'll be a little bit more brief. Nane, goddess of war and wisdom. She shares her name with an affectionate term for the Armenian grandmother. Mihir, god of heaven's light and possible successor to the position as the god of the sun. Tyr, god of wisdom, science, and study, often compared to Apollo for his ability to interpret dreams, but not to be confused with Tyr, the Nordic god of war. Amanor, god of Armenian New Year festival held every July. Praying to this god could result in a larger yield from your crops in the new year. Sylvanar, goddess of the sea and rain, who is ironically referred to as a fire creature. Spandaramet, god of the underworld, whose job, like every other god of the underworld, is to watch over the dead. Taramu, who can literally only be described as the sixth god of the Pantheon. For that reason alone, he is the foot-stroking deity of the Armenian Pantheon, and I expect all of you to mock him as such to incur the wrath of the almighty sixth place. Okay, I'm done now. Thank you to David Advent Time 21. He's been requesting I do Armenian mythology for a while now, and I actually really enjoyed it, seeing as I literally knew absolutely nothing about the Armenians before doing research for this video. Aside from the fact that they were victims of a genocide, but then again, even some congresswomen can't seem to acknowledge that for some reason. I hope my video has been satisfactory to you, David. If you guys would like to support my channel, link in the description below to my Patreon as well as my Discord server. By the way, Patreon reward tiers have finally been posted. I'll be doing a video a little later on, maybe this week or the week after, explaining the various different tiers and the Patreon exclusive content that I will be posting there. In any case, I hope you all enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. That would be absolutely excellent. And if you have any further requests as to which mythology I should cover next, be sure to leave it in the comments section down below. And until next time, my name is Messiahs in Mythology, and have a God's blessed day.